Bonjour, you absolutely wonderful humans. Let's get into today's lesson, which I will say, since we are starting a new unit, today is going to be slightly longer than the others, just because we do have a ton of vocab that we need to go through. So, today's lesson is use previous knowledge of surface area to make connections to the formulas for lateral and total surface area and determine solutions for problems involving rectangular prisms, triangular prisms, and cylinders. But basically what we're going to do is apply the formulas to previous knowledge of surface area, because I'm telling all of you, you're in 8th grade now, and I taught most of you last year. I know you know this. I know we went over this. So everything we're learning in this unit, you have seen and done before. We just didn't apply formulas to it. We did it the long way. Well, this year, since we also have calculators, we get to apply formulas that will help us get through the math quicker. All right, let's start with what lateral surface area is. Lateral surface area is the sum of all the areas of all lateral faces of a 3D figure, which does not include the bases. The perimeter, which is one of the ways we're going to find it, is by finding the distance around a polygon, and a polygon is whatever shape it is. We're going to be dealing with rectangles, triangles, and circles today, just rectangles though. It's the base. We're going to find the perimeter around the base. Then the other part of our formula is the height of the prism, which is the perpendicular distance between the bases, which is perpendicular is the fancy, well, most technically correct term for what it is, but just the distance between the two bases. So when we are finding it, we're going to find the base first, both our bases, and then the line that connects the two, the shape that connects the two, the number that connects the two is the height of the prism. Area, which is what we're finding, the lateral surface area, without actually using our area formulas today, is the number of square units needed to cover a given surface. Area of the base, that blank shouldn't be there, so don't worry about the blank. It's the area of the base shape, which we already discussed is either going to be a triangle, a rectangle, or a circle. Today it's going to be a rectangle, but again, we're not actually going to find the area of the base today. The face, a face, is a flat surface of 3D figures, which is what we call a polyhedron, just not the base. And a base is the side, a side of a 3D figure by which it is classified, like rectangular prism, rectangular pyramid, triangular prism, triangular pyramid. And then we have cylinders, which are circular prisms, and we have cones, which are circular pyramids. All right. Last few, a prism is a 3D figure with two congruent bases connected by parallelogram faces. Usually you'll see them as rectangles. The faces should all be rectangles. If the faces are rectangles, it's a prism. If the faces are triangles, it's a pyramid. Lastly, we are going to find the lateral surface area of rectangular prisms today. And a rectangular prism is a 3D figure whose bases are rectangular and whose faces are quadrilaterals, which is another way of saying a four-sided shape, which are rectangles, parallelograms, and squares. Okay, let's get into our formulas that we're going to be using. Area of a rectangle, we actually won't be using today, but let's find it on our reference charts. So here we have area, then I'm going to find the word rectangle, which there it is, and then see that my formula is capital A equals BH. So capital A equals lowercase bh. And yes, capital and lowercase is important. The main formula we're going to be using today is that lateral surface area of a prism, which again is going to be on a reference chart. So we need to make sure we are using these. I'm going to go to the word prism, which I see, and then the word lateral. And my formula is capital S equals capital P lowercase h. Now, capital S equals capital P lowercase h. Now, capital P stands for perimeter of base. And lowercase h stands for height of prism. All right, let's get into today's notes. So we are going to rewrite the formula. We write it as LSA, lateral surface area, equals capital P, perimeter of the base, lowercase h, which is the height of the prism. The lateral surface area is the sum of the areas of all lateral faces, meaning no bases. Which again, if all of this just seems absolutely wackadoodle to you, just wait till we get to the examples, write it down, try to process it. Then when we get to the examples, it should make sense. Some real life examples, real world examples would include the walls of a room. Let's say you're painting your bedroom or you're helping your mom paint the kitchen or whatever. This would be the walls of the room, not the ceiling and the floor. Most common, we do not paint the ceilings. Usually they're some sort of light color. And then we don't necessarily paint the floors because they're, already done. So, or this is the non-opening parts of a cereal box. We have the top and the bottom, right, that open. And then clearly the four sides are the lateral surface areas of the cereal box. Whew, all right. Now let's get into the steps. And I will maintain that these first three are the most important. If you can get these first three steps down, the other sets four are super easy. Step one, we're going to set up a T-chart, which you remember from last year. We're going to write the surface area formula from the STAR reference sheet. Step two, we're going to shade in the base shape. Basically identify it. Identify the base. Bases in this case, because we should have two bases. Pyramids, you only have one. Anyway, step three, we're going to highlight the heights or identify it in some way. Okay, as long as we can get those three steps right, you're golden. Because the next four are easy. Plugging in the height, well, you already know what it is, so plugging it into your calculator is easy. Plugging it into your formula is easy. Then we're going to mark it out just so we don't use it again and we don't get confused. Step five, we're going to draw the base shape and transfer the dimensions. Find P, the perimeter, capital P, right? Stands for the perimeter of the base shape. By adding all the side lengths together. Lastly, plug the remaining letters into the formula and solve. Meaning plug in P times H, right? Do we need to write that down here? That is multiplying? Hopefully you'll get it. Okay. Example 1. First thing I'm going to do is identify the base. So when it comes to rectangular prisms, I'm going to say they're going to make it obvious what the bases are. In this case, it's going to be what it's sitting on, which then also has the mirroring top, right? Those are your two bases. So, set up a T-chart, done. Write the surface area formula. Oop, I did not do that first. Dagnabbit, Palmer, be better. So I'm going to say LSA for lateral surface area equals capital P times lowercase h. Then what shape am I dealing with? Well, I'm dealing with a rectangle. And yes, do not skimp on this. Do not skip this step. It will help you organize your work. And trust me, if you do this, you will get them right. All right, so I have my rectangle that I'm going to pull out. This is going on to, oh, guys, I keep missing steps. Shame on me. Okay, step 1, set up a T-chart. Write the surface area formula. Did that. Step 2, shade in the base shape. Identifying the bases. Did that. Step 3, highlight the heights. Goodness. All right. Since I found my two base shapes, I know it's going to be the top and the bottom. Therefore, the distance between them, this 6 inches, is my height. Okay, step 4. Plug in the height of the prism for H and mark it out. All right, let me rewrite my formula again. P times H. I wrote it in parentheses just to remind myself and remind you guys. We are multiplying them. You don't necessarily have to do that though. Okay, H is going to be 6. Now I need to find the perimeter. So I already drew my rectangle. I'm going to pull out the dimensions. It's 15 by 12. And add it all up, right? So if I have 115, I know the other side is 15. If I have 112, I know the other side is 12. You could just plug this all into your calculator. I just know that 15 times 2 is 30 and 12 times 2 is 24. Therefore, the perimeter equals 54. Now, plugging that in to my formula. So 54 times 6, plug it into your calculator. The lateral surface area equals 324 inches squared. This is area, therefore you should have dimensions squared. Okay. That was pretty easy, right? That was okay. Let's try example 2. This time, we're going to make sure that we, you know what, shoot, like just try to work ahead of me. Like if you haven't already started on example 2, start now. So that way as we're going through it, you've already got the answers and now you're checking your thinking instead of copying what I'm doing, right? Challenging ourselves a little bit. Okay, step 1, set up a T-chart, done. Write the surface area formula, haven't done that yet. So I'm gonna say LSA equals capital P, lowercase h, rewriting it, PH. What am I dealing with? A rectangular prism. So I'm gonna write down rectangle. And even draw a rectangle. Next. Okay. Next, I'm going to shade in the base and highlight the height. So again, we're going to try to make this rectangular prisms will be obvious what the bases are. It'll be usually what it's sitting on, or it'll be labeled. So I know it's going to be 3 and 5. All right, because that's what it is at the bottom. Then identify the height. It is always going to be what's between the two bases. So it's going to look like that 8. Now I'm going to plug it into my formula. I know the height is h. I'm not using that number anymore. Now I'm going to find the perimeter of my base. And plug that in. And then use my calculator. 16 times 8 equals 128 inches squared. Okay. When it comes to today's lesson, I would say as long as you follow the steps. But again, the most important are going to be those first 3. Getting the right formula and identifying the right bases and the height. And that's it. You'll be golden. Clearly, if you need help, just ask. That's what we're here for.